Long after the fall of Babylon and the first great Persian kings, the story of the ancient Middle East did not fade away. In fact, the region became even more complex, a crossroads where empires collided. Merchants carried treasures and new ideas reshaped the destiny of entire civilizations. One of the earliest rising powers after Mesopotamia's golden age was the Hittite kingdom. It's based in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. The Hittites mastered ironworking, forging weapons stronger than the bronze of their neighbors. And by 1600 BCE, they had carved out a formidable empire that challenged both Mesopotamia and Egypt. Their kings rode into battle in war chariots, thunderous machines pulled by horses, and their armies clashed with the pharaohs of Egypt at the legendary Battle of Kadesh around 1274 BCE, one of the largest chariot battles in history. Thousands of chariots charged across the plains as Ramses II of Egypt and Muwatalli, two of the Hittites, fought for dominance in Syria. The battle ended in stalemate. But what followed was even more remarkable: the first recorded peace treaty in history, inscribed on clay tablets in cuneiform. It was a moment that showed that even in the brutal world of ancient warfare, diplomacy was possible. As the centuries passed, the Middle East became a hub of trade. Merchants carried goods across deserts and seas, linking the Mediterranean to India and beyond. Caravans loaded with spices, lapis lazuli, ivory, and silk wound their way through Mesopotamia, stopping in caravanserais, where traders exchanged goods and stories. From Phoenician harbors, purple-dyed cloth and glassware sailed westward to Greece and Rome. From Mesopotamian workshops, astronomical charts and mathematics influenced scholars as far away as India. The Middle East was not only a region of empires but of connections, a place where cultures blended and knowledge spread like ripples across the world. Meanwhile, Egypt and Mesopotamia, two of the greatest cradles of civilization, continued to influence each other. Egyptian scribes borrowed Mesopotamian mathematics. Mesopotamian astrologers looked to Egyptian calendars. Traders carried papyrus from the Nile to Babylon, while Mesopotamian cylinder seals made their way to Egyptian markets. At times, the two civilizations clashed, as in the wars between the Assyrians and Egyptians, but more often they exchanged ideas and technology that enriched both sides. The ancient Middle East was not isolated kingdoms, but an interwoven fabric where gods, languages, and inventions crossed borders. After Alexander the Great swept across the Persian Empire, his sudden death fractured his conquests. His generals carved up the Middle East into Hellenistic kingdoms. The Seleucids ruled from Syria, while the Ptolemies reigned in Egypt. Greek became the language of administration, but Persian traditions remained strong. Cities like Antioch and Alexandria thrived, where Greek theaters stood beside Eastern temples, and scholars blended Greek philosophy with Babylonian astronomy. Knowledge was no longer local, it was global, preserved in libraries like Alexandria's, where scrolls from every land were collected. In this age, the Middle East became a laboratory of culture, where East and West fused to create new philosophies, religions, and sciences. But as the Seleucids weakened, a new power rose from the Iranian plateau: the Parthians. Masters of cavalry, they became famous for the Parthian shot, firing arrows backward while retreating on horseback. For centuries, they held the line against the Roman Empire, controlling the trade routes that carried silk from China to the west. The Middle East became the middle ground of the known world. The link between Rome and Han China and Parthian cities grew rich from this position. Yet even they would be replaced, for in the 3rd century CE, the Sassanid Empire rose to power. They revived Persian traditions, built grand palaces at Ctesiphon, and worshipped Ahura Mazda, the supreme god of Zoroastrianism. The Sassanians were Rome's great rival. For centuries, the two superpowers clashed across the Middle East, draining each other's strength in endless wars. But while empires battled, new ideas were taking root that would outlast them all. In the hills of Judea, prophets preached of justice, exile, and return. The Jewish people, shaped by conquest and captivity, carried their faith through Babylonian exile and Persian restoration, laying the foundation for Judaism. Out of this same soil, Christianity emerged, spreading through Roman cities and across trade routes, eventually transforming the Western world. And in the 7th century CE, from the deserts of Arabia, Islam arose, carrying the legacy of monotheism and uniting vast lands under a new empire. Though this belongs to the medieval story, its roots reach deep into the ancient Middle East, where the idea of one god above kings first took shape. The legacies of the ancient Middle East are everywhere. The Sumerians gave us writing and the wheel. The Babylonians gave us law and astronomy. The Assyrians perfected warfare and administration. The Phoenicians gave us the alphabet. The Israelites gave us monotheism. The Persians gave us tolerance, coins, and roads. The Hellenistic, Parthian, and Sassanid worlds gave us the first glimpses of globalization, where East and West were not enemies but contributors to a shared human story. But to feel the weight of this legacy, imagine again the people who lived it. Picture a Hittite king sealing a clay tablet that promises peace after centuries of blood. Picture a merchant caravan trudging across the desert, camels swaying under loads of silk, while starlight guides them along paths that connect continents. Picture a Greek scholar in Alexandria opening a Babylonian scroll and comparing it with Aristotle, amazed at how different traditions see the same stars. Picture a Jewish exile in Babylon, singing songs of Jerusalem by the river, holding on to faith in a foreign land. Picture a Persian engineer digging a qanat, channeling underground water to make the desert bloom. These were not just stories of rulers, they were the lives of countless individuals who built the foundation of the world we know. As the ancient Middle East transitioned into the medieval, its spirit never died. Islamic scholars preserved and expanded Greek and Mesopotamian knowledge, translating texts into Arabic and adding their own discoveries in mathematics, medicine, and astronomy. Roman law absorbed Babylonian principles. Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions carried forward the ethical vision born in the deserts of the Levant. Even today, when we check the time on a 60-minute clock, use the alphabet to write or measure a circle in 360 degrees, we are living with the gifts of the ancient Middle East. So when we look back, the ancient Middle East is not just a chapter of history, it is the prologue of humanity's story. It is the soil from which empire, religion, science, and law grew. It is the land where myths met mathematics, where gods walked beside kings, and where ordinary people, through their toil and genius, set the stage for everything that followed. The rivers still run, the ruins still stand, and the legacy still shapes the lives of billions. The ancient Middle East is not lost, it lives in us. If you've stayed with me through this journey, thank you. The story of the ancient Middle East shows us that civilizations rise and fall, but their ideas echo forever. If you enjoyed this continuation, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into history, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which ancient culture do you feel had the most lasting impact on the world, and why? I'd love to hear your perspective. Imagine a world where humans first tamed rivers to feed entire cities, where kings claimed they spoke with gods, where walls of blue-glazed brick shone under the desert sun, and laws were carved in stone for all eternity. The ancient Middle East was not just the birthplace of civilization, it was the stage on which humanity first learned how to rule, how to write, and how to dream of immortality. But behind the glory lay conquest, bloodshed, and mysteries that still puzzle us today. Priests whispered to gods from ziggurats. Kings carved their victories on stone walls, and ordinary farmers gazed at the same stars we still watch today. Welcome to the ancient Middle East, the birthplace of civilization, empire, and ideas that still govern our world. Hi everyone, I'm your name, and welcome back to the channel. If you've ever wondered where our modern world really began, clocks, laws, writing, empires, even the alphabet, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll journey through the ancient Middle East, the Sumerians, Babylonians, Assyrians, Persians, Phoenicians, and Israelites. By the end, you'll understand how this region shaped the very foundations of humanity. Stick around, because this isn't dusty history, it's the story of us. The story begins in Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers. The Tigris and Euphrates overflowed unpredictably, flooding fields but also leaving behind fertile soil. Around 4000 BCE, the Sumerians learned to master water with canals and dikes, creating the first surplus agriculture. Villages swelled into cities Uruk, Lagash with populations in the tens of thousands. Imagine walking into Uruk, its skyline dominated by ziggurats, temple towers that stretched toward the gods. Priests managed temples not just as religious centers but as banks, schools, and storehouses. Inside, scribes invented cuneiform writing by pressing reeds into clay tablets. At first it was receipts, sheep, grain, taxes. But soon it became literature, prayers, treaties, even jokes. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's first epic poem, asked timeless questions. What is friendship? What is power? What does it mean to face death? Yet these city-states fought constantly. Into the chaos stepped Sargon of Akkad, who around 2300 BCE conquered them all and created the world's first empire. His army, governors, and road systems linked cultures from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. The idea of empire, many peoples under one ruler, was born here, setting a pattern that the Middle East would follow for centuries. Centuries later, power centered on Babylon. Its greatest king, Hammurabi, around 1750 BCE, gave us something revolutionary. Written law. Its Code of Hammurabi, carved into stone, listed 282 laws governing trade, marriage, and justice. At the top of the stele, Hammurabi is shown receiving authority from Shamash, the sun god. Law was no longer just the whim of a ruler, it was divine order. Babylon also became a scientific capital. Priests tracked the heavens with extraordinary precision, predicting eclipses and mapping stars. Their mathematics, based on 60, gave us the hour of 60 minutes and the circle of 360 degrees. And the city itself dazzled the world. Its walls stretched for miles, guarded by the iconic Ishtar Gate, cobalt blue bricks, decorated with lions, bulls, and dragons. Later legends tell of the hanging gardens, terraced greenery cascading from palace walls, possibly built by Nebuchadnezzar II for his homesick queen. Myth or not, Babylon became synonymous with grandeur. Travel north and meet the Assyrians, a people who turned war into a science. By 900 BCE, they fielded disciplined, iron-armed armies with cavalry, archers, and massive siege engines. They invented military tactics that terrified the ancient world, deporting conquered populations, resettling them far from home, to break rebellions while spreading skills across the empire. Capitals like Nineveh and Ashur held palaces lined with carved reliefs, kings hunting lions, armies storming cities, prisoners led in chains. These weren't decorations, they were propaganda.
Yes.
They told every visitor, resist us, and this will be your fate. Yet the Assyrians were more than butchers. They created provinces with governors, road networks with relay stations, and made Aramaic the common language across the region. For a time, they controlled Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Levant. But their cruelty sparked endless rebellion, and in 612 BCE, Nineveh fell in flames, its empire destroyed. Meanwhile, along the Mediterranean coast, the Phoenicians built city-states like Tyre, Sidon, and Byblus. They launched cedar ships across the sea, trading purple dye, glass, and luxury goods. But their greatest gift? The alphabet. Simple, efficient, and easy to learn. It turned writing from a priestly monopoly into a tool for merchants and common people. From Phoenicia, it spread to Greece, then Rome, and ultimately to us. In the hills inland, the Israelites forged something equally transformative. Monotheism. Instead of many gods, they worshipped one god, not tied to land or temple, but universal, demanding justice and mercy. Their prophets denounced kings, defended the poor, and preached morality as higher than politics. This idea reshaped world history, influencing Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and introducing the radical belief that ethics can stand above empires. By the 6th century BCE, the stage belonged to Persia. Cyrus the Great swept into Babylon in 539 BCE, not with slaughter but with tolerance. He freed captives, respected local religions, and presented himself as a liberator. His successors, Darius and Xerxes, expanded Persia into the largest empire of its time, from India to Greece. The Persians built the Royal Road, nearly 1,700 miles long, patrolled by couriers who could deliver messages in days. They engineered qanats, underground canals that carried water for miles. They minted standardized coins, fueling trade across continents. Their capitals, Persepolis, Susa, Pasargadae, were showcases of imperial unity, decorated with carvings of envoys, bringing tribute from every corner of the realm. When Alexander the Great defeated Persia, he didn't erase it. Instead, he fused Greek and Middle Eastern traditions, sparking the Hellenistic age, where cities like Alexandria became hubs of science, medicine, and philosophy. Knowledge itself became global. Imagine a scribe in Uruk, smoothing a clay tablet and pressing tiny wedge marks, unaware he is inventing the very idea of recorded history. Picture an Assyrian soldier, marching behind a siege tower as drums, thunder, and arrows darken the sky, while inside the city a mother hides her children. Sail with a Phoenician captain, guiding his cedar ship by stars the Babylonians charted, carrying glass and purple dye to faraway markets. Or stand in Persepolis during the New Year festival, envoys from Egypt, India, and Greece, bowing before the Persian king, their images carved into the palace walls for eternity. These snapshots remind us that history was lived not only by kings and conquerors, but by ordinary people, scribes, merchants, farmers, and soldiers whose lives were forever shaped by the great currents of empire. So let's recap. Sumerians gave us the first cities and writing. The Akkadians built the first empire. The Babylonians carved law into stone and mapped the skies. The Assyrians turned conquest into an empire machine. The Phoenicians spread trade and the alphabet. The Israelites introduced ethical monotheism. The Persians created a superpower built on tolerance, roads, and innovation. Together, these civilizations didn't just shape the Middle East, they shaped the entire world. If you enjoyed this journey through the ancient Middle East, give this video a thumbs up so more people can discover it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more epic deep dives into history. And I want to hear from you. Which ancient Middle Eastern civilization do you think left the most lasting legacy? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'll be reading them.